we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news of yet another batch of classified documents found in Joe Biden's possession and Biden's neglect in handling America's most sensitive information, with some classified documents discovered in the garage of his Delaware vacation home. On Thursday, Attorney General Merrick Garland named former U.S. Attorney Robert Hur as special counsel to investigate whether Biden broke the law. Joining me right now exclusively in his first Sunday morning television interview on all of this and more is the new Speaker of the House of Representatives, Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, good to have you this morning.
Thanks for letting me back on, Maria.
Congratulations to you. It was a hard-won fight. You are there, and you've had an incredible first week, which I'm going to get to. But first, I want to get your take on the breaking news. What are you going to do about all of these classified documents being found in Joe Biden's possession?
Well, it just shows the hypocrisy and why the American public does not trust their government. You know, Congress has an independent constitutional obligation to oversee all aspects of the Justice Department, and that includes special counsels as well. And so we will have a role in overseeing what's transpiring here. What's real concerning to me is how justice is applied, and is it applied equally? Why do you raid President Trump? His wasn't just lock, was padlock. They knew it was there. They could have come and taken it any time they wanted. They were communicating with one another. Now we're finding time and again a locked garage door that opens and closes by a push of the button. How many years has this vice president who's been in office for more than 40 years had these documents? Who's been in and out of there? So they apply a special counsel, but how many agents do they apply to that and apply to President Trump as well? This is just hypocrisy, and I'm tired of this Justice Department that we found that went after parents and others, that they utilize it to go after people because they have different political beliefs. That is what's wrong with government, and this is a prime example of why we passed this week a new select committee that will fall under Jim Jordan's committee for the weaponization of government, that we can look into what the FBI has been doing from Twitter and everywhere else and change the course where we can now trust our law enforcement from the FBI place again. A lot of the whistleblowers have come in very concerned about what has happened to this agency and get it back to the place we know it should be.
Well, it feels like there's so much politics involved. Devin Nunes, your former colleague, joined me on Friday to talk about Robert Hur. Here's what he said about this new special counsel. Watch.
This special counsel that was appointed to look at Joe Biden is somebody we're very familiar with. He is a Russia hoaxer himself. And I think the Republicans better check in. He has a lot of explaining to do because he was involved in the letter that was from the FBI to the public that said that we were going to endanger national security if we released the memo at the time.
Well, I mean, it's just incredible. It's incredible to me, Speaker McCarthy, that this is the person they chose. He's got, dirt on his hands from the Russia collusion lie.
Of the thousands of people who work at the FBI, why is it every time there's an investigation of a Republican, they're always tied together in a small little loop? Couldn't we have an independent person in the FBI that has no ties to anything to investigate something? Why is it always from a small protected group of friends are the only ones that they put in to have counsel? That is why we had moved for a new select committee of the weaponization. We will get to the bottom of this no matter how long it takes us and how hard we have to fight. There's one thing I think, Maria, I hope the American public realize from watching the race for Speaker. I will never give up. That means I will never give up on you on getting the truth.
And you did that this week. You kept your promises in terms of removing or rescinding the funding for the IRS. Joe Biden wants 87,000 new IRS agents. You've got 15,000 border agents. What a comparison. You also removed the Democrats from those important committees, Adam Schiff, as well as Eric Swalwell and Omar as well. And you got bipartisan support on China bills. Tell us about your first week. How are you feeling after week one is in the books?
Well, I feel the first week has been very productive. First, we've got a very good rules package that empowers all members of Congress. That means all Americans, when you lend that voice to your member, Republican or Democrat, they have a better opportunity to have a say on the floor, that the idea will win at the end of the day. We were able to repeal that 87,000 IRS agents, because I believe government should be here to help you, not to go after you. Yes, we got bipartisan support. 146 Democrats joined with us to create a new select committee on China, that we can bring those jobs back from China to America, that America will speak with one voice. This is something that you have looked at, Maria, time and again, our intellectual property being stolen, our farmland and others. We'll look at all aspects of that so we can compete. We also got a bipartisan vote to stop that strategic petroleum reserve for selling our oil that is supposed to be there for a time of emergency off to China and others. 113 Democrats joined with us. So I'd like to see Manchin and others in the Senate bring that bill up and move that to the president's desk. We've got a number of bills coming up in the future, securing our border, producing more energy, stopping this COVID emergency across America so we can all get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked that I even have to ask this, but is the Senate going to go along with this bill that we shouldn't be selling oil from the strategic reserve to China?
Well, it's overwhelmingly passed in the House. I don't see why they would stop. They're not even in session. They haven't produced any bills. So here's their first bill over there that they can take right up. And as you talk to those Democrats who, Manchin, Sherrod Brown, Tester, and others who say they're moderates and that they want to work together, here's an example that 113 Democrats inside Congress voted for as well. I don't see the reason why it wouldn't get moved.
Speaker, you've also said that you are going to release all the video from January 6th. Tell me why you want to release all the video, and what can Congress really do at this point? Can you change the course of where we've been, where it feels like the Democrats have been just railroading over the Republicans now for several years?
Well, that's what we really tried to do in the House. The first thing we did on the first day was open the People's House back to the people. You know, Nancy Pelosi wasn't allowing the public to come in. Now you can come in and watch and hear the debates. We opened up the Capitol for people to come and tour. We took away the magnetometers of members going onto the floor. We want the people to be a part of their government, to be actually see that it's working. The reason why I look to releasing those tapes, I've watched the politicization of what transpired there, that Nancy Pelosi wouldn't release her own text, but would pick and choose who could be on that committee. I watched what the report said, things that were not true. So the best way to handle this, I think, is exactly the way Elon Musk. Just put all the information out there and let people see what is truth and what is not. So the best way to do that is you release the tapes. People can know for themselves instead of picking and choosing what views they want people to see.
Well, what are we going to learn? Are we going to learn that Nancy Pelosi basically allowed open air and people to come in with the Capitol Police not enforcing rules?
I don't know. I haven't seen the tapes. I just think they should be released. The one thing I did know when Nancy Pelosi picked this committee, she picked a chairman that actually objected to President Bush being in as president, but the chairman actually said, we can look at everything except Nancy Pelosi. We could not know what she said or to the Sergeant of Arms. I think all that information should come forward and let the American public understand what transpired and let them know the full truth.
Speaker McCarthy, I want to ask you about what's next. I want to ask you about the debt ceiling and the bills that you are looking at to bring to the floor. Let's take a short break and continue our conversation. There's a debate right now about a bill that's going to come to the floor later on this year about raising the debt ceiling. Should we be raising the debt ceiling?
You have to. Talking about on the day that America can't pay its debt, that has potentially disastrous outcomes. And that means that once American debt goes into default, a lot of people can't own it anymore. And American debt doesn't cross default, but it's cumulative. The T-bill defaults, the next week T-bill defaults, the next week T-bill defaults, pension plans have to sell. It is so potentially dangerous, we shouldn't get anywhere near it.
And we are near it. That's JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon with me last week in an exclusive interview on Fox Business Mornings with Maria on the fiscal cliff the economy is facing. Late last week, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen Informed Congress wrote a letter to Kevin McCarthy that this week the department will begin taking extraordinary measures to avoid default on the $31.4 trillion in national debt. The Treasury is expected to exhaust all of its accounting maneuvers by early June, setting up a showdown in Congress over raising the debt ceiling. I am back with the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, what are you going to do about the debt ceiling?
Well, as we hit this statutory debt limit once again, I do think it's worth a moment to pause and look, how did we get here? And first of all, Maria, there is no doom right today. The hundreds of billions of dollars the government currently has, we won't hit our debt limit to really this summer. So let's take a moment and realize, why did we get here? I mean, if you look just in the last 4 years that Democrats were in the majority, they increased discretionary spending by 30%. When Republicans were in majority for the 8 years prior, they didn't increase it by $1. So that's $400 billion a year we spend more. In the last 2 years, they have taken us from spending $4 trillion to $7 trillion. They have added $10 trillion in the next 10 years. We are now going to have deficits for $1 trillion a year for as long as the eye can see. So what I really think we would do is treat this like we would treat our own household. If you had a child, you gave them a credit card, and they kept hitting the limit, you wouldn't just keep increasing it. You'd first see, what are you spending your money on? How can we cut items out? Every government has to do this. Every state has to balance their budget, county, city. For the White House to say they won't even look at it, that they can't find 1 penny out of $1 of eliminating waste, I think they're just trying to put us into bankruptcy. What I am saying, and it's my conversation with the president on our first conversation, let's sit down together. Let's look at the places that we can change our behavior. The first thing I would say is, why don't you make the House and Senate both produce a budget? They don't produce a budget, so you know they're wasting money. Why don't you say the House and Senate both have to do appropriation bills? The Senate didn't even do appropriation bills, and then 2 senators wrote a $1.7 trillion bill right before Christmas that no one could read. Are you going to tell me there's no waste in that?
Yeah.
Why don't we look at, this is hardworking taxpayers' money.
Right, and
we
I understand
can find
that.
and eliminate those things. That's all we're saying. Let's sit down and change our behavior for the good of America, because what we're going to do is bankrupt this country and bankrupt these entitlements if we don't change our behavior today.
But they're not going to do it. Speaker McCarthy, you know this. We've already seen the arrogance in full scale. Last week, Karine Jean-Pierre said there will be no negotiation. The Congress has to raise the debt ceiling. We will not get anywhere close to this. There will be no negotiation. Now, did you make an agreement with the Freedom Caucus that you would go back to 2022 spending levels? Because I spoke with Congressman Michael Waltz last week, and he said, if you do that, that's going to be a $75 billion cut in defense spending. Are you willing to cut defense spending to meet this and not have any negotiation with the White House as Joe Biden wants?
Well, first, let's just take a pause. If we go back to 22 levels, that was what we were spending just 2-3 weeks ago. That's not cutting defense by $75 billion. Does defense getting more than $800 billion, are there areas that I think they could be more efficient in? Yeah, eliminate all the money spent on wokeism. Eliminate all the money that they're trying to find different fuels and they're worried about the environment to go through. I want our men and women trained to be able to defend themselves, to secure, to have the best weapon systems possible. So yeah, I'm sure they can find some places that they could be more efficient. We have some of the best Navy SEALs, some of the best Rangers. They come to me every single day as they serve in Congress and tell me where that waste is in the Pentagon and others and want to be more efficient. But every single level of government should be doing that. This is not our money. This is the hardworking taxpayers' money. We should start every day. How could we be more efficient? How can we deliver a more effective to the American public? And how can we do it in a more secure way that we don't spend as much? Why would we sit back and be so arrogant to say, no, there's no waste in government? Why wouldn't we look at all the money that poured out during COVID? What money of that has not been spent? Why wouldn't you pull that back in? Why wouldn't you make Congress and Senate produce?
But they're not going to agree to a spending cap. They're not going to agree to a spending cap.
Well, Maria, I don't believe that's the case, because when Donald Trump was president and when Nancy Pelosi was speaker, that's exactly what happened for them to get a debt ceiling lifted last time. They agreed to a spending cap. I believe we can sit down with anybody who wants to work together. I believe this president could be that person. That's the conversation I had with the president. I want to sit down with him now so there is no problem. I'm sure he knows there's places that we can change and put America on a trajectory that we save these entitlements instead of put them into bankruptcy the way they have been spending. Make us do a budget. Make us do appropriations out in the public. Just doing that would save tremendous amounts of money.
So just to be clear, you're not going to do anything this week unless you could sit down with Biden to discuss this, because you know that there's more money to move around and the real crisis happens in June. And at that time, you are going to try to stick to 2022 levels by cutting out fringe like the wokeism in defense and perhaps elsewhere.
Yeah, there's plenty of places we can find efficiencies and eliminate waste. The idea that a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill was written by 2 senators who were retiring, where nobody got to debate it, I know we could find a lot of places we can eliminate. The idea that you increase spending just in the last 4 years by 30%, $400 billion a year, that you added $10 trillion just with these Democrats in power. I know when we were in power for those 8 years, the discretionary spending went up 0. So what you find, like every single household, the first thing you need to do is a budget. And then you prioritize where your money should be spent. Defense is a very #1 priority.
Speaker, we got to jump. We only have a couple of seconds. Will you move to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas on the border?
Well, we will never use impeachment for political basis, but the one thing I said prior to the election, I believe he should resign based upon his actions on this border. And I want our committees to investigate why we're in this position that we are, that hundreds of Americans are dying every day from fentanyl based upon his decisions.
All right, hundreds of thousands in the last year, that's for sure. Kevin McCarthy, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Speaker McCarthy, we'll be right back.